Diamond Cut.
Greetings, 6 degrees on 6 degrees and beyond. And I'm back with the cancer survivors, my good friends, Monica Calloway, Monica Calloway, up in Roanoke, Virginia, and my best friend James Richard Coleman down in Miami. Hopefully, we'll hear from Jennifer Galetta, our Philly correspondent, later on. But we're here today further talk about cancer. We lost a lot of people since we last met. James, one of those people you enlightened me on was somebody, and I actually knew the guy, or I met the guy, didn't even realize I knew him. You know what I'm talking about from the band?
Okay, yeah. That was Clark Garrison. When I was at FAMU, he was known as Miles Flowers from Jacksonville, Florida. And the city of Jacksonville is legendary as far as its Marching 100 drum majors, and he definitely lived up to that. He was a great brother. He was a model. He was into martial arts. I like to shout out his wife, Jerry Garrison, that whenever she would post on Facebook about Clark's condition, she would always title it filed under Until Death Do Us Part. And his situation is one of the things that later in the show that we'll talk about in terms of like just how imperative early detection is. So it's like, in addition to Clark Garrison, a coworker that we were going through treatments together at University of Miami, she had tongue cancer, a bump on her tongue, and it came back and the treatments didn't work. And she was, lost her a few weeks ago. And then just yesterday, one of my cousins, a close cousin, a year older than myself, from pancreatic cancer, was buried. So cancer is something, that's why when you asked us what we would like to be called, survivors, and not to over expound, but it's indeed a privilege and pleasure to be able to share this platform with Monica. And I mean that in the sense that you and Monica are in Greek letters fraternity, in a fraternity and sorority, and in your organizations, the longer someone has been in that organization, it's almost like the more seniority that they have. So with cancer, for Monica to have been in the cancer fraternity as long as she has, what we're seeing is people not making it a year fighting the disease. We're seeing people not make it a year in remission. We're not seeing people make it 2-3 years in remission. And so as far as the privilege and pleasure to be able to have a conversation, with Monica and her being in her right mind and cool, calm, and collected, is because of how long she's been in this cancer organization. So yeah, how y'all doing, man?
Great. And thank you for sharing about Mr. Garrison, because I met the guy, I didn't even realize it. And I was further enlightened on the fact that I actually had met the guy because right after you told me, James, Herbert Carrington, his Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity brother, had posted information about his passing, and I believe he had a brain tumor, correct?
Right. He went to the emergency room for migraine headaches, and they performed emergency surgery on him. He was in the hospital for about 30 to 60 days. Eventually went home for about another 30 or 60 days, and that was it, my brother.
Yeah, I met the brother in passing when I was in the choir at FAMU, because, like I said, he was a drum major one year that I know of. And then, like I learned that they were Kappa brothers or whatever. His line name was Lucky Charms.
Right.
And when they said he had a brain tumor, that was shocking. That's what my cousin Monica McEwen, that's the type of cancer she died from. She had headaches and all that, but she was around a lot longer. When she had her chemo, she had chemo for years, and it was a real sad situation because she was only 17 when she passed. But they thought they had killed all of the the malignant tumor, when in actuality, it later spread and killed her, man. It was a sad situation. Like, it's always sad when you have a death, but it's even more melancholy when it's a young person that hasn't even started their life yet. You know, Monica was a very intelligent person, very nice person, piano player, could play her butt off on the piano. Went to Benjamin E. Mays High School and died right before graduation. Didn't even attend the graduation to walk across the stage. And like I said, when I met you, I automatically was drawn to you. Your name was Monica. I was like, I'm not forgetting that because me and Monica were like brother and sister, you know. And like I said, the cancer variable about you, I didn't even, when I factored it in, I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then, you know, me and you hit it off so well when we met that, you know, it was just like kind of crazy for me.
I have a question for Monica. Monica, how long have you been cancer free?
17 years. 17.
Wow. And so over that 17-year period, like all the anxiety and trauma that you post-traumatic stress from the treatments, like what do you do to stay out of that space from like the anxiety standpoint and just like the mental side of dealing with it? Like, do you pray a lot? Do you read? Do you jog? Like, what have you done for 17 years to keep yourself to where you are now?
Well, over the years, it's been a number of things. I think the most important thing is knowing that you have something outside of the disease. You are not the disease. You can't let the disease have you. You have to focus on something greater and higher. For me, it's faith. Right. Of course, I journaled and jogged and had friends or everything, but I didn't necessarily make it my primary focus. I attacked it like I would any other obstacle. Of course, it was probably the hardest obstacle, but all of the above. And sometimes you just try things and see what works for you. You know, you pray, you read scripture, you work out, you cry, you try yoga. You know, it's all about what works for you. And there is better cure or treatment to keep your mind steady and stayed. I mean, you know, it's the same thing. You all went to HBCUs. You know, I'm sure you all have things that were spoken into your spirit about, you know, seeing it through, you know, staying on task. And it's that same that you would have to have.
Right. Okay. So 17 years. Okay. Excellent. And as I stated previously, we're seeing people go from diagnosis to death. We're seeing people go from diagnosis to treatment, and while being treated, not making it, or people fight this for 2-3 years. And Monica's 17 years. That's amazing, sister. So Gus, what else you got for us?
I have a question for you. I do have a question. Excuse me. I just want to ask you this. You guys' opinion about this. Do you think it's the fact that they are finding out too late? Do you think that they don't have awareness with their bodies or education about cancer and signs of cancer? Because you do bring about an important point. I was a late stage cancer, and of course I was 32 at the time. So I'm wondering, is it because these young people that are dying, you know, soon after they've been diagnosed? I haven't read any studies. I was wondering if you all had any information about that. I have noticed that a lot of people seem to be dying quickly from cancer once they've been diagnosed.
I think that people, I think we've been taught that as men that we're not to start getting certain checks, prostate, colon, until we're in our late 40s, early 50s. So I don't think that in our 30s, I don't think we're getting blood panels or PET scans or CAT scans to areas of our body. And like we said on the first show, that we need to talk to our family and understand our family history. A couple of weeks ago, I took my nephew to the Florida Keys, and I made a notebook so with everyone directly related to him that's had cancer, so that, like, bro, you can't, you're 27, but but you can't wait until you're 35. This year for your birthday, you need to get checked. And so I think, and this is only an opinion, is that I don't think that early detection is happening as often as it should. And then the result that we're seeing is late detection. And then when it's detected late, it comes down to one or two options being on the table. And if those one or two options don't pan out, we know what the result is. So that's my answer. And I see that Jennifer has joined us. Hi, Jen.
Yeah, I saw it on the chat.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, Jen. With
hello.
me, hey. Hey, Penelope. Hey. With me, it's like in my family, I have a lot of people with problems with their digestive system. My mother had her large intestine shortened, so she had a colonoscopy. My dad had a hernia operation. So because of that history, my mother and my father have been, on me to get a colonoscopy. I've gotten checked for prostate cancer several times, but just hadn't gone in to get a colonoscopy, and I will. But I'm blessed enough to be able to, I give blood on a regular basis. That's my way of tributing to my cousin Monica, because I'm O positive, right? And O positives, my blood is universal. I'm a universal donor, so they have use of my blood, and it's real good for cancer research. So that is my contribution, as a member of Omega Psi Phi. Dr. Charles Drew was a scientist who came up with the blood storage process that enabled transfusions to occur. So, in the frat, we would give blood a lot, but bruh's always scared of, needles and things. But me, personally, I saw it as a way for me to give back and help those that I lost to cancer, to give back to them. It's also very profitable. I came down with I tested positive for the COVID-19 back in late May. I got checked on the request of my mother, who was in the hospital at the time. And then she was in a coma for like 2 months. But I turned out to be asymptomatic. So in doing that, when I got checked out and I ended up being positive, I didn't have a fever or anything. I just had like postnasal drip, like I always do in the spring, because I'm allergic to pollen. But the doctors were coming to me left and right, offering me to give my blood. They're like, you're killing the COVID right now. Can we get your blood? And I was like, cool, I would. But I already give, regularly to this one plasma center. So I'm good. But thanks for the information. Jennifer, how's the week been?
She's muted.
Yeah, I took it off because I'm outside. So hello, everybody, and I apologize for losing track of time. We had a COVID scare just this past week. Penelope wasn't feeling good, and when it was her annual physical, so we delayed her shots, and instead they gave her the COVID test, and we got the call from the doctor saying it was negative, but it definitely, it's cold and flu season, and we always have to be careful with washing our hands and just, not overdoing it. It's like you have people who want to live their life, but, there's things that you can do to just make sense to keep yourself safe. Like, I'm still in treatment. This September makes it a year ago that I found the lump in my breast, doing a self-exam in the shower. And my mammogram occurred in the first week of October, which confirmed the mass. And since I let them know that I had felt the lump, they scheduled, I had back-to-back appointments because they had to confirm it on the mammogram and then the ultrasound. And then a few days later, I came back in for a biopsy. and the biopsy results confirmed that it was cancer. I totally was blown away by that. I had no reason to think that I had breast cancer. I had just turned 46. Didn't know of any risk factors in my relatives or in my own life. And what I came to learn is just how prevalent cancers are in our world. And I felt really uneducated and a little angry about that, because I'm just like, we all should know more than what circulates. Now coming up is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So last year, that really helped me, that I got my diagnosis of breast cancer during Breast Cancer Awareness, because there were so many opportunities. It was on the radio. I was tuning into the radio. I went to, at my job, we had a panel discussion where warrior women came and shared their stories, and everyone had a different story. But and there was one speaker who is now my commissioner that's leaving for the city of Philadelphia, that shared that he lost his wife to breast cancer, and so everyone's story was different. But the main thing that everyone shared was there's different treatments out there, and for the women who shared their story, they were living their lives. And for the commissioner that lost his wife, she left behind a family and a legacy of love with him and his family. And it's unfortunate that she passed away, as well as so many others that have been taken by cancer. And so that's why I'm just blown away of how little information is shared on a regular basis, not just Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And then, each season there's different awarenesses, but it should be part of our just routine education and information sharing. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Cool. So you said it's the anniversary of when you detected it, a year ago today?
Yes.
Okay.
It might be, it's around about this date. It was towards the end of September. So it's around a year ago that I remembered that I forgot to schedule my mammogram, and I was already behind by 2 years because I had a baby. And so I put it off, and it was on my to-do list, and I was like, let me just do a quick self-exam, and there was a lump.
Time is moving on, because today is it's a year anniversary that I laid my grandfather, Deacon Augustus Jordan Sr., to rest. Today, a year. He died of natural causes, congestive heart failure, which I can say is a blessing, because all of my grandparents I lost, which was the three of them, was to congestive heart failure, which is a good thing, because eventually we all got to die. And that means they were pretty healthy. He died at the age of 95. And I can remember thinking that after a few months prior last year, we lost Stanley Lieber, the guy, the founder of Marvel Comics, the author of Spider-Man, X-Men, Black Panther. And after we lost him, I was like, wow, he and my grandfather are the same age. So, and my grandfather had dementia real bad. And so I knew, like, the countdown was coming, that it's going to lose my grandfather. And while I was on a shoot for a certain BET movie that I was an extra in, I got the call from my dad. So very sad times. We're going to take a break. And speaking of Stanley Lieber, just segueing, when we come back, we're going to talk about the loss of Chadwick Boseman a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, to stage 4 colon cancer. when we return for this break. All right?
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Diamond Cut.
6 degrees on 6 degrees and beyond. I'm back here with my brothers and sisters. We are the survivors. We're not going to give up. Not trying to sound like Queen Bee or nothing, but we are the survivors, right? Before we went into break, we were congratulating Jennifer Galetta on her anniversary of her early detection of her breast cancer, which she now is surviving. Let's talk about, oh man, T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, alumni of Howard University, and the Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I was basically just minding my business, working online, teaching, I believe. Get a call from my daughter. Dad, remember Chadwick Boseman? I'm like, yeah. The Black Panther, right? She's like, yeah. She's like, well, he's dead. I was like, what? I was in disbelief. My daughter is a good kid. She don't joke like that. But I was in disbelief. You know what I mean? Because I just saw the guy in The Five Bloods, Spike Lee movie, where they were filming in Vietnam. He played a character that had died in that movie, along with Delroy Lindo and a few other actors. But the dude looked healthy, looked strong. But as I started reading online, when he shot one of his other movies, he was getting screen sham because they felt like he was losing weight and he was getting skinny and things of that nature. Anybody, please share with me, where you were when you heard about the death of Chadwick Boseman, aka Jackie Robinson, aka James Brown, aka the Black Panther.
Well, I was at home scrolling through Facebook, and so all of the Facebook journalists that put the information out there is where I was at. And what I would say is ironic about it is on BET, sometimes when BET runs a movie, they'll run it repeatedly. And so around that time, they were showing what was our first Supreme Court judge name? That role.
Thurgood
Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall, yes, Thurgood Marshall. So like BET pretty much before his passing had the Thurgood Marshall movie on repeatedly. And I found that to be interesting because I was like, wow, whenever that movie came out, I had never really watched it. And then, so again, that had been in rotation. And I'm sitting on the couch watching it. And then again, the Facebook journalists put the information out there, and I started fact checking it because Facebook could put anything out there. So once I started fact checking it the same way with the Kobe Bryant situation, well, let me fact check this first. I was like, oh man, say it ain't so.
Yeah. I was at church when I heard about Kobe Bryant, and I knew that was probably true. It was hard to believe, but the first person I called was Roy. Shouts out to my producer, Roy Evans. And he verified it. He was like, oh, yeah, it was all on Facebook today. I'm coming from Sunday school. Didn't know any better.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anybody else on chat?
Same here, Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, it's really tragic. Yeah, I believe they said he'd been battling colon cancer for 4 years, right? Is that correct? And within 4 years, he did something crazy, like 6 or 7 movies. Is that correct?
Yep, but he didn't tell
Yes.
anyone except his family. Like, I know Ryan Coogler, who directed Black Panther, he didn't even share it with him, you know? His wife knew, I think. You know, people close to him knew. I know his director friend knew that would help him shop his deals and stuff. That guy knew. And what the first thing I thought about when I found out that he kept it private, he did a lot of community service with young kids that had cancer. And I remember right before the movie premiered in February of 2018, I remember he was in an interview talking about how he was promising these kids that it was going to be a very good movie. It was going to be classic. And that was his motivation to really nail the role. And so he said, he stopped in the middle of his speech and said, 2 of the kids didn't make it. Or he didn't even get to say didn't make it because he just started crying. And Lupita Nyong'o had to keep his composure, you know, young lady that played his girlfriend in the movie. Michael B. Jordan had to hold him. He just started crying in the middle of the interview, and it was so powerful. And then another speech I saw that he did, even before I knew he died, was at Howard University. Many of our alpha chapters, right, of each Greek letter organization. He did a great speech at Howard University about how he had this role on a soap opera. I can't remember what it was, The Young and the Restless or something, where he played a heroin addict son or something. He played a really stereotypical role, and he ended up getting fired from the role. But right after he got fired, he started getting really good roles like Jackie Robinson, Thurgood Marshall, James Brown, and Black Panther, right? So he was just telling them to, you know, never give up. And that, you know, them graduating from Howard University, it was a very inspirational speech at Howard. And I remember seeing these before word of him dying even came across. And I showed them, you know, to my public speaking classes. And they were just, you know, very inspirational to me. It's really.
So I thought it could have been earlier in the speech because I caught some of his speech, and he could have done more than one graduation. But I have it posted on my Instagram that I took where there were things that he said that just really, you know, I just related to it. He talked about that God has a plan, and that was what I was trying to embrace myself. I went through his Instagram account, and interestingly enough, it started 4 years ago, and I just, you know, wanted to understand more about him, and what I saw was just, you know, an inspiration. He was God-fearing, he was loving towards people, and talented. And so the segment that I posted was where he is making a reference to Muhammad Ali, about how that was an inspiration to him. And I don't know the whole context right now. And then he goes on to say that God has a plan. And so even when you don't know what the outcome's going to be, and even if it leads to your own death, you know, it's like he was inspirational for me to know at the time that he had cancer, and he's saying this, you know, whereas every day that I was praying and asking for people to pray for me, I just said, you know, pray for my faith and to build, and my courage to live the plan that God has for me. And so yeah, it really just spoke to me. But I I was not in the know at the time of his passing. I actually saw references to him, and I didn't realize I didn't recognize the name and face, instantly. But when I saw the dates, I said, oh gosh, somebody young passed away, and I didn't even know what it was. And then, as I said, the information became available, and I reviewed a statement from his, from his family that was on his Instagram page that was confirming of his passing and his battle with colon cancer, and that he had surgeries, chemotherapy, and all I saw around me on social media was a lot of people just in shock. Thank you. They were in shock, and people were embarrassed that they had been shaming him, and I thought that was enough, because to me, the lesson everyone I hope took from this is that you never know what a person's personal battles are. Right. And offer kindness, offer love, not destruction, not destroy them, not make fun of them. That's right. We don't make fun of people. We can offer kind words, and I think, I hope that impact resonates ongoing, because we all know social media has gone out of control, and that's another part of where I said I have a little bit of anger at our ignorance of cancer and living good lives, because we're bombarded with nonsense. There's so much all over the internet, and it's like, how about give us information that's going to help us live a good life, a happy life, love one another, and, be aware of the dangers out there.
Are there any comic book heads in here other than myself?
Just you.
Just me? Okay, so for me, I got pissed off, right? Because I loved him as Black Panther, right? And I really loved him as Black Panther, but I learned a lot about him as a person after he died, Chadwick Boseman, because I didn't know there were people. I knew there were people that he worked with that were great actors, legends, but I didn't know stuff like Denzel Washington paid for his acting classes. I didn't know that. So since he died and the Black Panther character was just introduced in the MCU, originally the Black Panther character was going to be introduced in the Fox Fantastic Four movies, because if you're a comic book head, you know that Black Panther appeared in Fantastic Four back in 1962 in a book entitled Prey of the Black Panther, and he defeated every member of the Fantastic Four, and then eventually he got his own title. I say that to say Djimon Hounsou, an African actor, was going to originally play him, but then they scrapped the whole Fox Fantastic Four, and they're coming up with a new Fantastic Four that's going to be in the MCU through Universal later on. But as soon as found out that Chadwick Boseman died, the man was Black Panther on the screen. So everybody was like, we need to get we don't need to cast for another role of Black Panther. In the comic book, there was a time when Black Panther came to New York to fight in place of Daredevil, who was possessed by demons. When that took place, his sister Shuri took his place as the Black Panther in Wakanda, right? So we had a female Black Panther. I was really sad the fact that X-Men has not been introduced into the official MCU through Paramount, so that we can see that black love between him and Aurora Monroe, Storm, right? So everybody's already jumping to this bandwagon. Yo, let's make Shuri the new Black Panther. Number one, like I said, we haven't even addressed his love affair with Kenyon Storm, Aurora Monroe, right? Number two, Batman, right? Batman had like 6 white dudes playing him, right? But I'm like, because Chadwick just acted the mess out of that role, and he introduced a lot of black people that don't like comic books, start liking comic books because of Chadwick Boseman. So now they think they just lay the roll to rest. I would really like to see Denzel's son play, Black Panther, you know, the new Black Panther, I don't think they should make him die in the realm of the movie because Chadwick has died. And I think Chadwick will respect that because Denzel was, you know, like his father, like a mentor to him because he helped him through the cinematic experience or whatever at the drama, you know, pay for his drama classes. So I think that this is just my opinion, and somebody else shared this opinion. I think that John David Washington would be a great person to play him, but most people think that they should just not recast for the role. But I feel like there's a lot more Black Panther stories that they need to tell. You know what I mean? And that's just my opinion. But none of y'all are comic nerds. But it's all good.
No, well, I don't. I'm not the books, but I love action adventure movies. I love them. I love them a lot. But I'll say that, you know, I hear what you're saying because just in general to say, you know, he didn't do the work he did to lay it to rest. I thought, you know, like the thing that why we produce artistry is to create legacy, to share a story that, you know, that can be emboldened. But it could just, I mean, maybe it's just in the context of that people didn't know what happened and they were shocked and they had to deal with their own, you know, like, you know, they had their opinions without even knowing he was ill. And so there could probably be another way to commemorate him and or, you know, deal with the series. But it's probably just not at this time. But, I mean, because here it was, there's not that many Black action heroes that I can think of offhand. And so to lay the Black Panther, you know, I don't know how to say that, the series or, you know, that character and end it would be, you know, not good for everyone because he was great. And he was great in the terms of it being Chadwick, but also just great in that, I think we all we all want to go to Wakanda, you know, and like, right? Like we all want to go there, you know. It's like, so it's like, yeah, yeah. So I can't see that it would really die off. Maybe just for a while we'll just keep, you know, replaying his, and then, you know, maybe and or it could be like not so much the Black Panther, but like his cousin or somebody who picks up and, you know, like that they bring in until we're ready to have another Black Panther. You know, it's just you know, there's a time to bring things in. So that's just my thought about it. But I know I'd eat it up.
But you know what?
Jennifer, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say this. Yeah, I see your point. For both of you, no, I'm not a comic book person, but the Black Panther did kind of open me up to the storylines. Of course, I've seen the X-Men and all that, but I want to say this. I think his legacy was, and maybe that's why he was so driven to work so hard during those 4 years of fighting cancer. Maybe he knew right off the bat, hey, the likelihood of me surviving this is very little, so let me give positive Black images, or, you know, give people inspirational images to remember me by or to look forward to. And I will say this, even if they decide to explore the other, any other Black Panther stories or have new Black Panther characters or people to portray Black Panther, either way, it's all good, because I think that's his legacy too. That he's opened the door for more stories of heroes, of people of color, not even just Black people. I mean, I think in the way things are in society, I think we need that. And I think people initially, what you were saying, Gus, I think they were so hurt. Am I frozen or did you freeze? It may be me. Can you guys hear me?
You.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right, I'll continue.
This video is frozen. Keep going. It's cool.
That's okay. That's okay. No, I was saying, you know, in light of everything that's going on in the world, I think we all need a hero. I think people were so heartbroken by this young man dying from a horrible disease. Everyone was caught off guard. So yeah, they think the best way to, I guess, to memorialize him and his memory is to make it so, you know, this is the end of that role. But I think, like you're saying, give people time to heal, like Jennifer said, and they may change their mind. There are other stories that can be explored, because we certainly need a hero, but we need heroes, people of color, men and women of color, not just Black, but of color, I think the time has come, and he just really cracked the door open for us. And I think that would be a greater tribute to his legacy, to have more roles and more heroes available to be portrayed. That's all I have to say about it.
Gotcha. Thanks, Monica. I totally agree with what you said. Jennifer, your knowledge is lacking. You have Blade, the vampire hunter killer, which was made popular by Wesley Snipes. It originally was a character who didn't have martial art abilities in the comic book, that Dracula, Lord of Vampires, that was put out by Marvel in 1973. Wesley Snipes gave the role depth by making him a martial artist and a mixed martial artist and an inventor and a melee hand-to-hand combat fighter. You had the Falcon, played by, I can't remember his name, but it's a black man out of New Orleans. You have War Machine, which originally was played by Terrence Howard, but then the brother asked for too much money from Marvel Cinema, and then they had to give the role to Don Cheadle. So there are black characters out there. You got Mr. Terrific on The Flash. But I think what was so groundbreaking about Black Panther was it was a mostly all-black cast, with the exception of maybe 2 people. So that's the only real difference between with Black Panther. It was hilarious to me. It was refreshing, but it was hilarious to me as well in 2018 when Black Panther came out, because number one, you had a lot of new black people that were fans of comic books, which is great and refreshing. But at the same time, it was black people dressing up like they was going to see Coming to America. You feel me? Like this was the first African movie that actually came out. And that was hilarious because people were dressing up like, you know, Hakeem, Prince Hakeem. You know, baby, when they say he got his own money, you never told me he had his own money, you know. So that was hilarious to me. Yeah.
But check this out. One of the things that was refreshing about Black Panther hitting the box office is we had so many movies that were the equivalent of 12 Years a Slave. We had so many Django's, so many 12 Years a Slave, The Butler, or roles that were like stereotypes. When you look at black folks that have Academy Awards, I'll say with the exception to Jamie Foxx's role as Ray, you know, the role that Denzel played, the role that Holly played, the role that Monique played, it's like we're playing roles that where we're not seen as a hero, where we're not seen as a nation, a strong nation. So at that time, just to put on pause all the butlers and 12 Years a Slave and the same old slave story, now we got a hero.
I agree.
From a brother whose lifestyle away from camera wasn't filled with scandal, wasn't filled with drama, wasn't filled with waste, wasn't filled with him being in the club making it rain or anything like that, but something really upstanding, like Jennifer found out, you know, that, hey, he was doing community service and helping out kids, that he was inspiring another generation. And to me, that's what sets him apart. I don't think they need to kill off the character, because think about it. Superman's, once Christopher Reeves that played Superman died, hey, white folks, no disrespect, or edit that out, they didn't say, hey, let's kill off Superman. It was just like Christopher Reeves has passed away. So you don't have to kill off the character, because like I say, Superman's not going anywhere. But more importantly, the brother that we're talking about, Chadwick Boseman, and his fight and battle with cancer is one that, going back to Monica and how poised she is and just how cool, calm, and collected Monica is, that brother was the same way. So as far as going back to the beginning of this conversation, saying, hey, y'all in the Greek organizations, the individual that's been in the longest has the greatest seniority. So on this panel right now, Monica being 17 years in, hey, that means a lot. And also the character of her, the character of Jennifer, you know, the personalities of these individuals. And so doing this has been a pleasure, you know, and this is something that we had to work at. We had technical difficulties and everything else, but this has been a pleasure. And our goal is to get good information out. And the last thing that I would like to say is, I was telling a close friend of mine this yesterday, which is get tested, get checked, know your family history. Early detection is everything. And don't be so woke that you think, hey, you can take sea moss and soursop and all this stuff and not get a PET scan and not get a CT scan and not get lab work done. Because if you think that like just, vegetables and water is gonna fight cancer for you, you're wrong. Get yourself checked. Trust science. Trust medical professionals, and that's it, man.
Oh yeah, James, totally agree.
I want to add to something about that too, just to say, so there's a lot of people who are afraid to get tested because they're afraid of the results, right? And let me just say that here it is. It's a year anniversary for me, and my oncologist says I'm cured. I am still in treatment, but I had a double mastectomy in April, and so you wouldn't even know it. Okay, but the tissue was explored, no evidence of disease. And so it wasn't an easy process, 2 surgeries, 12 rounds of chemo, and ongoing treatment, but I'm happy, I feel good, and even with Chadwick, although in the end he has passed away, he was able to participate in this living that he wanted. He was with his family. He did movies. So, and had he not addressed that, it's very possible that, that he would have not been able to do that if he didn't have medical help.
Yep. Okay, great. And James, like I said, I totally agree with what you were saying. My thing is, I don't know Chadwick, you know what I mean? But I think me, myself, if I died early, God forbid it or whatever at an early age. And if I was in the role of a, prolific character like Black Panther, I would have wanted somebody else to carry the baton and keep going. You know what I mean? I would want my death.
You're frozen, Gus.
Stop that. Especially when the character is just coming on people. You familiar with the Dora Malay, right? Are you familiar with the Dora Malay? The female warriors? Am I still frozen?
No, you're back.
Okay, you familiar with the Dora Malay, right? The female warriors from Black Panther with the bald heads? Okay, right. So in the comic book, 2 of the main Dora Malay warriors had a relationship, a lesbian relationship, right? So it was crazy. I saw on social media people going in because in the movie it wasn't that way. In the movie, the lead lady in the Dora Malay, boyfriend was Daniel. I can't remember his name. The kid from Get Out, right? The guy from Get Out, the British guy from Get Out. That was her boyfriend. So it was a lot of lesbians going in, man, on social media because they didn't depict it just like in the comic book. But then on the other hand, now it's like, they're talking about making Shuri the Black Panther, right? Female Black Panther, which I don't have a problem with for a small, short of time, but bring the male T'Challa back. My thing is, in the Black Panther movie, Shuri could barely fight Killmonger. So how's she going to fight Galactus and Prince Namor? And I'm probably over y'all head. But that was what I was trying to throw in there before Jennifer, took us around the corner and back up to Houston. But it's all good. I think we need to break, take our last break. And then when we come back, let's talk about the justice that we just lost to pancreatic cancer. Justice Ruth Ginsburg. Also want to kind of talk about Representative John Lewis, who also died of pancreatic cancer. All right. Anything else y'all wanted to end off with when we return?
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
Diamond Cut.
Six degrees, we're slowly shutting down, about to, put a top on this discussion on cancer prevention. I'm here with the survivors, my whole crew, Jennifer Galetta, James Richard Coleman II, and the beautiful Soror Monica Calloway, the mayor's stunt double. Hey, so threw that in there. James, man, mad respect to you for, okay, so when I first heard about the unfortunate death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice, I was talking to Monica, right? And I was just sharing with Monica some of the previous interviews I did on 6 Degrees and Beyond, and she didn't know about my cousin Mark McEwen, who was the first black weatherman. So I inboxed her the show, right? So we were talking, and I glance at everybody's stories every now and then if I haven't talked to them in a while. And it was a very pretty woman, ethnic-looking woman, looked light-skinned. I thought what is Justice Bader Ginsburg's, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's ethnicity? Anybody?
Jewish.
She is clearly not WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So I saw a black and white picture of her on Monica's story, and so I got worried. I was thinking, is this a member of Monica's family that might have passed? You know what I'm saying? Because I hadn't heard the news. And I shared that with her, and she was like, oh, that's the Justice Ginsburg that just passed. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, my bad. I was just doing a check on everybody, you know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all all right. And then my friend Valerie from FAMU had put on my page a story. It says, do not fill Ruth Bader Ginsburg Supreme Court seat until after 2021 inauguration. Because we know that if the orange man, please don't let him still be in office. If he's in office, he's going to put a fool up in there to take her place. And, they have to stay in there as chief justices till death. So that was like my introduction to the whole thing. I didn't even know until I talked with James last night that the cause of her death was pancreatic cancer. Anybody else that wanted to, piggyback on that. And then also Representative John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, I'm about to say John Conyers, rest in peace to him too. Representative John Lewis also died from pancreatic cancer. All right. So anybody wanted to weigh in on?
Yeah, I did want to say this about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's been on the Supreme Court forever. And she made a lifetime of contributions to the United States, to the citizens. She worked on pivotal cases, and I'm thinking it's important to vote, like James mentioned before. It's important that we get in there. And I also remember something about two of the GOP have decided that they do not endorse the fact that the president should appoint the next Supreme Court justice, the one that would replace Ginsburg, that they are against that. And that's good, because I will say this, that if the current president appoints the next justice, the things that we take for granted are going to be on the chopping block. They're going they're going to totally flatten out the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare as it's commonly known. And, of course, that falls into early screening and detection for poor people, like we're talking about cancer.
Like me.
So yeah, I mean that right there will be gone. I mean, gay and was it? I want the proper term, but I'm going to say gay rights. But I'm talking about the whole umbrella. I'm not trying to exclude anyone. They're going to go after voting. Yes,
Homosexual partner rights.
Well, yeah, they're going to go after abortion rights. They're going to go after anything that has been in place that's against what has become a minority of people. Anything that's against their mindset, they're going to attack. So it's kind of a scary time. But that woman, she fought her hardest. She was hospitalized and had numerous surgeries. And she was just focused on her purpose. And like Chadwick Boseman, she was one who was so focused on her purpose and the possibilities of how things could turn out for people. And she fought to the end. So that's what I was thinking about, the importance of voting, the importance of getting the right person to replace her, because it's going to affect us in ways that we haven't even considered. I mean, the Voting Rights Act, I mean, anything like that is going to be done. So.
Yes. And in addition to that, Monica, that people take for granted is that to a lot of people that immigrated to this country over the past 10 years that got here and became comfortable and trusting of the orange man and his team, you're all about to see what they really stand for. So something else about Justice Ginsburg is that she battled colon cancer first.
Yes.
And she was a colon cancer survivor, and then she battled pancreatic cancer. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think John Lewis had another cancer battle before his battle with pancreatic cancer. And being that a cousin of mine literally passed away last Monday, Ronald Ball, from pancreatic cancer. On Monday, while I was at work, I started Googling, the pancreas and where it's located and the likelihood of surviving it. And it's like, one thing that cancer has taught me is that nothing is impossible, but the likelihood and also the stage that it's in, no matter when it's detected, as far as with pancreatic cancer, that it has a very, very, very low survival rate. So what we're reiterating over and over, throughout this segment is the importance of early detection. Talk to your family, find out your family history. Also, definitely, if you're not registered to vote, the deadline is, I was told, October 1st. You can do it online. If you log on to Facebook even asks you, are you registered to vote? And it take you right to the page that you need to be to vote. Because again, what we're going to see is for folk that's become complacent because, as Monica said, the Voting Rights Act and a lot of things that we take for granted on a daily basis, the wake-up call is coming soon.
Mm-hmm. I want to add that because people, again, it's like people have to know that they matter. And even with a prognosis or a diagnosis, you matter and you can change the world significantly. There's so much to still learn what she participated in, but one that blew my mind was she helped where women can get a mortgage without having a husband. So think of how that property ownership for a woman helped us become individuals. Yes. And being equal to men. In equal in this world, in nation. And so here's one woman who used her time to make a difference. And so no matter what, none of us know when our day is here. Okay. And so, yes, you might say, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but by voting, you can make a difference and put the right people in place that will push push equality and fairness, and stop oppressing people. And so that's why all of us can make a difference. Yes, we can. No matter no matter what happens to us.
Also, I want to say, let's not get new. We should be voting ongoingly. We shouldn't just be voting when it's time to vote for the president, because the more important elections are your local government elections. You know what I mean? Your district attorneys for the area that you live in. What else? Oh, only vote once. Don't vote twice like that. Well, that's for those white people in North Carolina. It's voter fraud is real. I voted with an absentee ballot last time I voted in March, I believe, because the COVID was running rampant.
Yes.
And support your post offices, please. Buy a book of stamps. That's enough to keep them, on track. Because this dude is in offices. Stupid. And I'm sorry. He's ignorant. I'm not going to say the orange man's name, but everybody know what time it is. It was something else I had. Voting. Oh, please vote for one party or the other. And I'm not. My thing is, if you're going to vote for a Republican, vote for the Republican. If you're going to vote for the Democrat, vote for the Democrat. But if you vote for the Green Party in the presidential election, that's just like voting for Trump or an independent party of that nature. That's just my opinion. I could be on some other stuff, but I'm just like.
I have to say this. I have a dear friend who chose to. We got into a serious debate, and for her it was principle, the way she voted. And I told her, I said, you must realize that the person you voted for in 2016 did not stand, excuse my language, a snowball's chance in hell of ever.
I like it.
Of the United States of America. So that person may have gotten 2 to 3% of the vote. And I said, I understand you're a principled person. You believe what you believe, but you must realize that basically, if you did not vote for a particular party, you may as well have voted for the other party, because it didn't really make a difference. And I'm not trying to attack anyone's personal philosophy, their belief system. She was principled about it, and she saw my point. I said, look at the big picture. I want you to use strategy. Principle without strategy is not much. That's
a shot in the dark.
As we would say in the country, you're pissing in the wind if you're doing that. You got to really think about the big picture, and not just about you. Think about the people, society as a whole. So you're right. People need to be strategic in their voting. Go, vote at the local elections and for your governor and all that. Don't just wait for the presidency, because as we saw with the Barack Obama when he was president, he couldn't do it alone. He couldn't get half the things done that he probably could have if he had the support from underneath Congress and different ones who. Anyway, I'll let that go. You all take it.
I have a question. Where are these people coming from? these black people that are supporting Trump, these Latino people that are supporting Trump, they got to be eating edibles with Vernon Jones and Herschel Walker, right? And some of them are fake. Yeah. Technology-wise, some of these people are not even pro-Trump. A lot of these are made up identification pieces or whatever that they're trying to make it like these blacks, these Latinos are supporting Donald Trump. Jennifer.
Well, I'm just going to say that with Democrats and Republicans, I've been jaded in the political system for a long time because I had wanted to be a politician, and ultimately, it has been about the haves having, and so I think it kind of boils down to what you're saying, Monica, about being strategic in that which of the parties are more likely to listen to other voices and let them have a turn, versus the ones that would say, no, we want everything the old way again. Well, that means that for the old way again means I can't buy property without being married. The old way again, you know, we won't go down that road. But the point is that, and think about, you know, participating. So instead, I'm looking at things differently, whereas before I didn't want to participate, and I would just say, oh, they're both, you know, they're both only for the rich. And then there is, like I said, the opportunity to make a difference on an individual basis, along with your local government, and moving on. And I guess and it boils down to which party is more likely to fold in your values and ideas. And so that's what makes this all so difficult, because there's a lot of rhetoric along with manipulation by the media to have us, you know, thinking that we're all about to be in a war with each other, when really there's a whole lot of love. And there's a whole lot of love and a whole lot of people who want to see other Americans not suffer, that want to address the homeless issues, heroin, and other drug issues, children that are being captured and put into sex slavery. All of these things, the average person wants gone and wants to see, you know, us all doing well. And so we just got to make a difference and find a way to make our voices heard and share with each other.
That was very eloquent, Jennifer. And I will say that living in South Florida, I once rented from a Cuban guy, and I know that the Cubans, like the Miami Cubans, not the Tampa Cubans from the 1800s, but the Mariel Boatlift Cubans, tend to lean towards the Republican Party in the context of the Democratic Party is pro-communism and that the Republican Party is not. So you have that conversation. Then the blacks that I know that support Trump, where I'm able to drag them with reality whenever they come with the whole taxation. You know, I know some black folk that make, you know, that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and so their pitch about why they're, you know, pro-Republican and pro-Trump has to do with taxation. So I start asking them basic questions. I'm like, well, hey, you know, to older Republicans, I asked them, were they a Republican when a sitting U.S. President, John F. Kennedy, was murdered? And what were your thoughts on that? No answer. Then I asked older Republicans, were you a Republican when Ronald Reagan, and under Reaganomics, because to talk about taxation is the trickle-down effect where you don't tax the rich, that creates jobs, because by not taxing them, they have more money to create more jobs. Well, if you live through Reaganomics, that's when crack and AIDS took off, and our communities are still suffering from Reaganomics. So black people, stop it with the whole, you make $500,000 a year, and so for taxation purposes, you roll with the Republicans. Just say that's who you rock with. If that's who you rock with, you don't have to sell it, you know? And then don't try to Democrat shame, you know, black folks for being Democrat, because guess what? The Voting Rights Act came through which president? You know, the Democratic Party. Also, you black Republicans and Cuban Republicans, the Mariel Boatlift Miami Cuban Republicans, tell me about Lee Atwater, the person that was Ronald Reagan's campaign manager. What was his strategy? To depict blacks as criminals and to come out with strong crime bills. And that's why the person that was running on the Democratic ticket, I think it was Michael Dukakis or something like that, the governor from Massachusetts, they made a spectacle of him because the laws in Massachusetts allow a black man in prison to go on a furlough. That brother, while on furlough, raped and killed a white woman, and that became Lee Atwater's campaign strategy, like saying, look at this dude, look at this guy, he's a joke. So again, as far as the blacks and other minorities that support Republican Party, just stop and say, hey, look, that's who I rock with, because that's who I rock with. All these other mute points, taxation, and Castro and all that other stuff, spare me, because you don't want to have that conversation. Like, read.
I like that. If anybody else has any more comments, please share. And if not, I will conclude. James, I love it when you say, "Hey, look," where you be dropping science. That should be the name of your show. Hey, look. That should be the name of your show. Hey, look. Hey, I wanted to give a shout out to my homeboy Robert M. Latham, who's a good friend of mine. He's remember Alpha Phi Alpha, and he's battling some type of blood cancer right now. I'm gonna probably try to bring him on the show at some point. Hopefully with all the other survivors he is going through. I see him posting on social media. It's like comedy. Originally on social media, he had a little skit with his son. Oh man, I think his son's name is Noah. But since he's been dealing with this blood cancer, he's been having to social distance even more because of the COVID. So shouts out to him, and shouts out to everybody for supporting the show. Shouts out to everybody for coming today. I think this was best discussion we had since we met as the survivors. And everybody take care until we meet again, God willing.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
We are back. For the first time in 62 years, the Florida Memorial Lions will hit the gridiron, and their home games will be streamed by the Black College Sports Network at www.fmuathletics.com, www.mybcsn.net, and on the MyBCSN app, available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It was a monumental game for A&M and Tampa. It was a monumental game. Somebody had to lose, and thank God it was them this time.
We knew it was going to be a battle. Look at Jake Gaither's record. 202 and 36, I think. Some off-the-wall figures.
Nobody would play him because they didn't want to take a chance of getting beat. But the truth of it is,
Over 46,000 tickets. Blacks were sitting in the east stands. Whites were sitting in the west stands, and the score wound up 34-28.
The whole thing, we proved that we weren't inferior. We were not inferior, and we were not afraid.
For one night, for 160 minutes, we were better than them.
Hungry for authentic Caribbean food? Like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisine.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cover's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEOVERSVOICE.com. Cover's Voice, Cover's Voice, CoversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.